Hello guys, and today I have a little lesson for you. If you ever wanted to learn something about Germany, that might be your chance. I want to talk about the basic information you can grab dealing with my home country. Basic means, well, it's not highly detailed by any means. It should give you just an imagination about how things developed to the current day, but I don't want to bore you. I'm pretty sure after you watch this particular video, you know if you're, willing to learn more about Germany or if my video was enough already. Of course, I hope to make you excited for more, let's say, additional information about my country. But without further ado, let's get started. The very first German nation was called Holy Roman Empire. Unlike today, it consisted of many smaller and bigger territories that were self-sufficient, in a way that they had their own coins, laws, and rulers. The seven most powerful of them constituted the leader, the king. To become emperor whatsoever, not just the leader of the Germans, he had to be appointed by the Holy Father himself. A saying of that time said, "One faith, one empire, one emperor," which summarizes the political order of that time quite well, especially because it was heavily influenced by the Catholic Church. The idea of the empire was carried mostly by the rural population though, which used to be 90% of the people. As you may think, they didn't want to carry that load on their backs forever, because of the upcoming greed of the upper class in particular. It was circumstances like those that made the Enlightenment possible. Started by Martin Luther, it disembogues into the 30 Years' War between the Protestant north of Europe and the Catholic south of Europe. At this map here, you can see where the people were fighting for the Catholic Church and where the people tried to stand against it. The war ended in 1648, and after peace between the German states has been regained, the Holy Roman Empire continued to exist. But now, with two main religions from there on. It eventually came to its end in 1806. The reason was no one else than the French Emperor Napoleon Bonaparte. He defeated the strongest German military force, which used to be Prussia at that time, and recreated the German order. He mainly chose to combine different German territories to decrease the amount of German states. A lot of them, located in the west, became a coalition with the name of the Rheinbund. The Rheinbund was closely connected to France under Napoleon's rule, which made them borrow some laws from the Code de Napoleon. Against his will, Napoleon modernized Germany and gave it a push to what it has become today. But for these presents, the German partner states had to pay a high price. Napoleon wanted to take over Europe, and in order to succeed, he needed a gigantic army. To keep their privileges, every German state had to send soldiers to join the French army. That eventually turned to Napoleon's disadvantage. The more German men died on the battlefield, the more unhappiness was growing against the French emperor's policy. It all came down in the Battle of Leipzig in 1813, where a part of the German forces that used to fight with the French together turned against their former brothers in arms. That war was over. But the influence of that small French man wasn't supposed to disappear that easily. Germany changed again. Until 1866 it was called Deutscher Bund. Unlike the Holy Roman Empire before, there was no emperor at the top, but a kind of parliament was established, in which any German state had its representative. The two most dominant of those used to be Prussia and Austria. It was a short war in 1866 that brought this form of a German nation down to the ground and separated Austria from the rest of Germany forever. From there on, Germany and Austria started to be two individual and self-sufficient nations. Under Prussian leadership, northern Germany came together as Norddeutscher Bund, but France stopped the plan to add the southern states as well. A war against France in 1870/71 cleared the path for that intention and led to the foundation of the first real German national state. It was still a monarchy, but a parliament as we know it today was already included. Of course, the influence of the emperor was way bigger because it was he who elected the chancellor. Nevertheless, the empire still did a lot of important things for Germany's way to become a modern state. In the Industrial Revolution, many industrial companies which became powerhouses over the years, they have their origins within the empire. A bunch of specialized laws for insurances were introduced at that period. Without them, Germany wouldn't be that social state we know today. Of course, the empire had its downsides. The labor force in particular, they suffered under the fast development of Germany. Liberals and other minority groups, like Polish people, were prosecuted by the state. The time for change turned out to be the First World War. After 4 years of pointless human sacrifices and hundreds of thousands of people became handicapped, the German population wanted to end the war. The idea was to get rid of the emperor and introduce an early form of democratic constitution to simplify the negotiations for peace treaty. That idea fulfilled its purpose, and World War I came to its end. It was the beginning of the first federal republic on German ground. It was called the Weimarer Republik. Compared to modern standards, it was a very modern constitution, and pretty similar to what we have nowadays. But in its early days it had to face various problems. An inflation almost responsible for a civil war, the non-existing trust in the new government, and radical paramilitary groups spread all over the entire country. Despite all these problems, the government solved them, and from 1925 to 1929 we had an era called the Golden Twenties, in which it seemed Germany was finally on its way to recovery. Instead, it was the year of 1929, the year of the worldwide financial crisis, that opened doors for the NSDAP, the political party of Adolf Hitler. In 1933 he was elected for Chancellor by President Paul von Hindenburg, former World War I veteran. When he died in the following year, Hitler decided to get rid of the presidential office and combined its former powers with his own as Chancellor. From there on, till 1939, the government tried to convince any single German to join or at least like the Nazi Party. The method here was to create jobs and improve the social aspects of the state. All of that almost ruined the state and was one reason why they started the Second World War in 1939 already, finger quotes. After the last shot has been fired in the Second World War, the Allies and the Germans tried to rebuild their own country. In the post-World War era, one of the first acts of administration was to divide Germany into 4 zones, and put one of them under the control of a victorious nation. The combined zones of the United States, France, and Great Britain, they became West Germany, while the Russian zone became East Germany. The West German state was known by the name Federal German Republic, and the East German state was known by the name German Democratic Republic. The border between these two German states became the ideological front line of the Cold War. The distance between former German brothers was growing, and so was the distance between West and East in general. The end of this circumstance, however, had its origins in the bigger cities of the GDR. The people started a peaceful riot against the government back then, and at the 9th of November 1989, they chose to open the Berlin border in reaction to the unbroken resistance. Within the following 2 years, the wall between the German states fell, and the Cold War, the disconnection of Europe in general, was slowly removed. A lot of things changed from that historical moment on. To give you an example, for the time of separation, the political center of East Germany used to be Berlin. For West Germany, it was the city of Bonn. After 1990 and the German reunification, Berlin became the city for political decisions again, and that is the Germany you can currently take a look at.